Danger zones of the safety knife. Number 1. PPE, Personal Protective Equipment. Make sure that you have had knife safety training and that you have been assigned the right gloves and knife for your job. We have different gloves and blades for each job. You are only allowed to use the gloves and blade assigned to you. Disciplinary action may be taken if you are using the wrong blade or knife. Number 2. Danger zone. A danger zone is when you cannot have both hands on your knife. The free hand is exposed to being cut by the knife blade. Be aware and extra careful of where you are cutting and where your fingers are at all times. Be alert when in a danger zone to prevent being cut by the knife blade. Try to keep both hands on the knife at all times. Number 3. Safety knife. Always use a self-retracting safety knife that has a blade that goes in by itself when you let off the handle. This will allow you to prevent cutting yourself. Never modify your knife in any way. Number 4. Gloves. We have two types of cutting gloves. You will be assigned the glove that you need for your job. Spinner gloves are fingerless gloves used by a spinner. They are fingerless so that the spinners can work on the thread and get into small places. Once in a while, spinners will need to cut thread off of a bobbin. This task presents a cutting danger zone. This type of glove is only allowed to be used to cut off pieces so that you can reuse the bobbin. It is not allowed to be used to cut full bobbins. Therefore, only cut small amounts of thread using this type of gloves. Make sure that any type of glove that you wear on your job fits correctly, meaning it is not too tight and not too loose. Gloves that are too big can get caught in the frame. Gloves that are too tight can cut off circulation. Frayed, cut, or torn gloves should be replaced. A knife that is broken needs to be traded in for a new one immediately. See your supervisor. A cutting glove is a full glove that covers the whole hand. It is used for cutting full bobbins. Only this type of cutting glove is used to cut off full bobbins. Hold the bobbin with one hand while cutting only half the bobbin at a time. This will prevent the bobbin from slipping and from you cutting yourself. Number 5. Fresh blade. Change your blade before you start working. A dull blade requires excessive force and you can injure yourself if you do not change it enough. A clean blade will always cut better and smoother than a dull blade. Number 6. Holding the knife. Hold the knife with two hands while cutting. This will keep your hands from getting cut and will allow you to get a good grip on the knife. Number 7. Release blade. Release the blade when you are catching any bad work that you have cut off to prevent cutting your hands. If you are cutting and catching yarn at the same time, this is a danger zone. Be very careful with your blade. You should watch your hands at all times and release the blade when you can. Number 8. Knowing the capability of a lap. If a lap is too big to cut off, flag it by pushing up the red handle and go to find your technician for help. They are trained to get these big laps and they will determine if they need to shut off the frame to do so. Number 9. Knowing when to use and not use a knife. Sometimes you don't need a knife because you can simply rub the lap off or pull the thread off of the bobbin. If you can avoid using a knife, then do so. If you can aspirate bad thread, do that. Number 10. Tools for cutting laps on the spinning frame. Use a fingerless glove because that allows you the freedom to pick up small things and to help protect your hand from being cut. When removing a lap from the top roller, be careful not to damage the rubber caught. Thread will not run on a damaged roller. Use a self-retracting safety knife that releases the blade by itself, so that the blade goes inside of the knife when you are not using it directly. Use a short, curved blade because that is made to get under a lap on a roller and to get into tiny places. Number 11. Spinning bobbin. When cutting thread off of a bobbin, hold the bobbin in one hand and cut away from you with the other. This is a danger zone. Be aware of the direction you are cutting and the force you apply to prevent you from being cut or damaging the bobbin. If you are cutting a full spinning bobbin, hold the bobbin at the top with one hand and cut the lower half of the bobbin. When done, flip it around and do the same thing to the other end. Remember to always cut away from your body and keep your fingers clear of the knife blade. This will prevent the bobbin from slipping and will prevent you from cutting yourself. Number 12. Roving bobbin. Use a safety glove that covers the whole hand and use a straight blade to prevent yourself from getting cut. Slowly cut away from you holding the bobbin in one hand and the knife in the other. This is a danger zone. Be aware of where your hands are and the force that you are applying. You should hold the bobbin with the gloved hand, cutting only half of the bobbin at a time. This will prevent the bobbin from slipping and will prevent you from cutting yourself. Number 13. Apron. Put the waste from your apron in the waste can located on your job. Carrying waste in your apron can cause loose strings to hang out and knock your ends down. Be sure to empty your apron often.